I realized I had neglected to do the officer elections. So I don't know, maybe we'll do that at the end of the meeting.
I have added it as the last agenda item for the evening.
Okay,
So we'll close with election of officers.
okay, sounds
That way
good.
it becomes official for the next meeting.
Okay, good. Hey, Patrick. Good to see you.
And we will unmark him not present. Make him present.
Yes,
Okay,
I am
so-
I am present. I'm alive. I did not die, and I have tidings. I have tidings later in the meeting. I'm really excited to share when we get to that.
All right.
Oh, good.
Rumors of his death has been vast.
Okay, so we have a lot of agenda items on the meeting tonight, so I'll try to get through them quickly.
Approve the minutes.
Yes, the first one is to approve the minutes from October 23rd, 24. Did anyone have any comments about the meeting minutes?
Nicely done.
I
I
didn't
make
either.
a motion.
Motion. Go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
I
All those, I think that was unanimous, so we are good with the meeting minutes. Thank you for writing those up again, Ed.
It's already typed into the agenda. They've been approved unanimously, so don't hurry to break the record.
Wonderful. Okay, on to Joan for the treasurer's report.
Okay, the historical commission expense account, which we get each year $1,000, is $1,000. The historical commission preservation account, which was voted in a couple of years ago for $25,000, is still at $25,000. And
Donation fund.
donation fund is $1,000. The 300th anniversary gift fund is $5,891.23. And the historical commission donation fund, the donation fund is $917.17. Then there's a Heritage Park bench donation fund at $1,000.
Okay, one,
I would add that the $25,000 in our preservation fund is subject to the $1,650 for the storm window on Holy Angels,
Which I
which have been submitted.
put the invoice in last Thursday, I think it was.
okay,
I haven't heard back from Joe Costa.
Ken.
Ken Costa. So I'm hoping that everything was there that needed.
okay. Great, well, it's great to have that done.
Yep.
Okay, wonderful.
So I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, can't carry unanimously. Hi, Catherine.
Okay, we will mark her as present. Everyone's present. Okay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Heritage Park sign damage from VVT, but I think we said during the last meeting, we're gonna wait until December to discuss that further, so we'll bypass that one. The next item on the agenda is the Heritage Park plaque sign, and again, we said we wait till December to discuss that one, so we'll bypass that item. And then the next item on the agenda is Heritage Park ownership discussion. So I had emailed Joe Layden, and I think I CC'd the historical commission with the reply regarding what we had said during the last meeting about how that arrangement is set up, and we'd like to continue with that arrangement where we know that the historical commission doesn't own the park, the select board and the town owns the park, but we would still like to be involved in the initial approval process for events there, and then, if someone has an event that they would like to, arrange for the park, we would discuss it first, and then we pass the information to, the town manager, Joe Layden, and he has the final approval for that. So I think, although I didn't hear back from him.
I don't recall any response from
No, so I could ping him to just say, are you okay with this? So I'll take that as an action item. And go for response. So it's good to have that written up though, in that email, because it might be easy to forget what our arrangement is in a couple of years, so at least we have that written down. And I also forwarded that discussion to Marcella, because she was the one who initially, raised the issue. So, so that's that.
I propose we move a later agenda item about Sarah Barnacle and the cave info in the park to this agenda item.
Okay,
So everything relative to Heritage Park is discussed as one agenda item.
yes, so that would be, Russ, did you have an opportunity to email, during the last meeting?
Oh, I know what that was.
Whoop,
But
that
this
was-
is about.
That's the reporter that wanted to write an article about the cave.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
You did reply to her
I
the
did.
next day.
we did, okay.
She had a good, nice article the following Sunday.
Oh, she did, oh, wonderful.
I think her response was that she had talked to some other people to put her article together.
Yes, she did.
Not hearing back from us in a timely fashion.
Let's talk to some archaeologists, I don't know if they're true archaeologists or amateur archaeologists.
Mhm.
But it was very, she hit the nail on the head with the Heritage Park, and mostly about the cave. It was, he connected it with, it was right before Halloween, she connected with spiders in there.
Oh, that's
nice.
cute.
Yeah.
I'll have to Google that and see if I can pull that up, maybe.
When did she write from? Where did she put it? She wrote
The
it.
telegram. Telegram, it's just- Yeah, very nice article.
I don't know, it was her first email. It was apparent that she was with the Worcester Telegram Gazette.
Yeah,
I don't think it was.
yes, it was. The first one?
The first request when she emailed the Historic Commission?
Yeah.
Okay. Not important. All right, good.
Okay, so, the next item on the agenda is the historical commission mailbox. I had popped in there around 4 today and it was empty, so I think we're clear on that unless anyone, I don't know if anyone else, okay. Yep, so that looks like it was empty.
Did you skip discussion of the creation of a local historical district? Or do I have?
I did, yes, yeah, you're right, good call. Fortunately, I hadn't,
We can pass over. if you'd
I
like.
don't have any updates, I should have actually grabbed the booklet. While I was checking the mailbox, but I forgot to do that, so,
Yeah, and I was gonna do that too.
yeah. But, I also would like to make a first draft. Of the warrant article just to discuss it, but I didn't get to doing that either, so. I don't have too many updates for that one, unfortunately.
So let's just pass over until next month.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is any updates with the Grange, and I think that you might have some for us.
Hopefully for only a few more months, but as I stated last month, all bills have been paid, money was received from the state, so that was last month's report. The executive committee of the Grange held a meeting last Thursday night, the 7th of November. And I presented the various proposals I had for insulating the building and the various proposals I had for paving their parking lot. I won't go through all the details, but a vote was taken and a unanimous vote to insulate the building was reached, and a unanimous vote to pave the entire parking lot with a 3-inch thick base, which was the the most expensive option that was quoted and the best and last the longest. So they will present that to the total membership tomorrow night for a final vote, but since the executive committee has approved it tomorrow night, it's just a formality. And I discussed with Ken Paulson this morning that he should have both contracts signed at the meeting so that it's not a discussion the next day, and be prepared to send them off to the two contractors Friday morning. Since the installation, they said they could do probably in about 3 to 4 weeks after receipt of the contract, but that's not weather sensitive as much as paving the parking lot. Paving the parking lot, Asphalt Engineering is the contractor. They have said they can pave it this year unless something drastic happens with the weather, but I told Ken that there's no more days to delay this, to give Asphalt Engineering 3 or 4 weeks they need to schedule it and get in there in December and pave it. So hopefully both of those happen. This morning, Ken and I met with the representative from Mass Save again, who's the one who quoted the insulation. And we asked her to quote installing mini split air conditioning / heat pumps into the building. Partly to see what would it cost and how large are the rebates, how much would rebates offset the cost? Since I believe it would significantly reduce their electric consumption running window air conditioners in the summer for the dance studio, and potentially partly decrease their oil consumption heating the building, because mini splits heat pumps will heat a building down to somewhere around 23 or 24 degrees far more efficiently than however. So she told us that it would require 4 mini splits be installed, and that the state provides a $2,500 credit per ton of air conditioning, and she was going to quote 8 ton. So 4 units, basically 4 2-ton units. So each unit would receive a $5,000 rebate. Now, I don't think the units are much more expensive than that, so it'll be interesting to really see. I mean, I've never quoted them before. But it could be a, $30,000 job with a $20,000 rebate. What was somewhat disappointing, I asked the question, would they be able to provide an analysis of savings to be received? And the answer wasn't a very strong yes. So you kind of have to estimate it off of experience. And since they're not going to provide it, I told Ken that he would probably see a 50 to 60% savings on electricity during the summer months, and maybe a 10% savings on oil, annual usage of oil, which could still pay for them in 5 years. So we'll wait for the quote. We probably won't have a quote for a week or two, and then we can discuss it. But that is something that is well after paving parking lot and insulating the building and replenishing their treasury. So it's just, you can't talk about it if you don't have numbers. You can't just guess.
Talk about it if you don't have money either.
Well, you can always talk about it. Say, it's a future wish. It would be well worth doing to the building, but again, I think it would enhance that building greatly. So that's for what it was. So insulating and paving, I anticipate both of those should be done sometime in the middle of December. Positive vote tomorrow night, and contracts being sent off promptly on Friday. So that's great news.
Right. Yeah, those will be 3 great updates. I think once those are complete, that's pretty much all that to me.
That's all of it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's all of it except that we didn't get any window restoration done, and the building still needs window restoration. I didn't even try and find contractors to do that. I think I would contact the guy at this Mass Historic Commission and say, in all the experience of all you people doing these grants, who out there in the state does window? Because the windows would have to be restored as is or something like that.
They need to be historical window.
Yeah. Somebody said to me this morning, you can put storm windows on it. I said, you can't put storm windows on it, not allowed. You can't put anything outside on it to change the appearance. Yeah. I think they basically have to take the frames and everything out, rebuild them, repair them and replace the glass with thermal paint glass, which just means mortising and setting them in. So they look exactly like they look today, but they're all weather sealed.
Are they the original windows?
It's believed that all those windows and 90% of the glass is original 1850. Which is amazing. And this thing,
Contact the company that did the windows here in the town hall.
yeah,
They had to replace all these windows, restore all of them. They removed all the paint, all the lead paint. And restored them all. And they put plexiglass over the inside.
so it's basically using the existing frames and custom cleaning them, restoring them, setting in thermal paint or plexiglass or whatever they do. And probably doing the frame, because every one of them, and these were probably the same, are all hung by weights.
Yeah.
They're all weighted.
Be eligible for CPC permit.
So it's something that potentially next year could be discussed, but as far as this year goes, the restoration's done. If they can get their parking lot paid
Yeah.
and the building insulated, it's a done deal.
That would be the Grange, who should contact the CPC. to Take care of that.
I think the building's done as far as the work,
Yeah.
which was very little anyhow. So that's an update of the Grange.
The next item is painting the Holy Angel Church in the Milton Rustine building, so we have an update on that.
So the Milton Rustine building, pressure cleaning was done a week ago. Painting started last week and continued through to today. I don't know whether they finished today or they have a small amount left to do, but believe they're well into the 90% completed. They were reinstalling the shutters yesterday and today. Noontime today, I took a close look at the building and questioned whether they had used the correct paint color on the trim, because it looks like a white. Although in some light, it didn't quite look white. So I questioned it. John Johnson from the DPW went down to Koopmans, picked up the paint chips, went over, matched them to the building, called me and said they are exact match to the colors that we chose for that building. And again, as I said, coming into the meeting tonight, I think the building looks fabulous. It's nice, clean. I think the color difference between the trim and the body is a little more than I thought it was going to be, which offsets it very nicely. The shutters are all painted the trim color. The window frames are painted trim color. Looks great. Looks great. So, Holy Angels. To go back to what we had said last month, the DPW got 3 quotes from 3 paint contractors. 1 or 2 of them mentioned something or asked questions about lead paint, so the whole project was put on hold. I was asked to contact the paint company who painted the Grange, which I did. He texted me a fabulous number to paint it, which was below all the other 3 quotes, and he's certified to remove lead paint, did it on the Grange. He seems to be less than capable of typing it into a formal proposal. So for a week and a half, I've called him twice. Dennis asked me to call him again, which I was reluctant to do, and say, hey, you've got to find some friend of the family, somebody who can use a computer and type you up a formal quote, because you'll basically get the job if you can submit the quote. I think realistically, if he does that there would be very little time for him to do anything this year, although it's not out of the question he could start scraping and priming. That's possible, but it's not clear at this point if he's going to get us a quote. And I don't know if that means next spring or this winter, Dennis would have to turn it into a bid request. I know the other 3 quotes were, I don't have the exact numbers. I think Dennis said they were from $45,000 to $75,000. And this guy quoted 33 and change.
Oh, wow.
Ooh. His biggest concern was who's going to repair the rotted wood.
Yeah.
And I said, no one, you're going to put paint on it. I asked Dennis afterwards and he said he's going to put paint on it because it's not within his scope. So the phone call that I had with him yesterday was, if you can really find someone who can type you up a quote, because it's got to be in writing, you can't take a text. And if you know anybody who does carpentry work, and if you would want to change your quote and bundle it in there, I said it might still fly to do a little bit of a little bit of repair with most of the concern about the rot is on the steeple. The soffits of the steeple are open holes, 3 or 4. There's some in the lower portion below the first floor of the building. As you walk down the left side, that whole side is sketchy, but that's all a timber frame wall. And isn't structural to the building, but it's a mess.
Hmm.
So if you could do that, so I'm not terribly optimistic we're gonna get a quote out.
If he's coming in with a quote that low, I think that there'd be a little money to, put in for some carpentry.
Well, I couldn't tell him.
Yeah,
I mean, it would be unethical
right.
for a quote, but Dennis doesn't have to bid it unless he believes the quotes are gonna exceed $50,000. So this wasn't bid, this was calling a company saying, I want you to give me a quote to paint the building, scrape and paint the building, and that's what it got, 3 quotes. And I think only one was below 50.
Hmm.
And then they started to ask him about lead paint. And
Is that how much money they have for that 50,000?
my recollection was last year's special town meeting last November was a warrant article asking for $110,000 to paint the 2 buildings.
Mhm.
During the meeting, I believe it was discussed to split the 2 buildings into 2 individual components.
Mhm.
With, I think, and don't hold me to this, 55,000 for each building.
Oh,
The Mass State laws require any expenditure in excess of $50,000 to be done only after a formal bid.
uh-huh.
Under 50,000, it can be a request for quote. So what Dennis did, I'm going to assume I can get both buildings cleaned and painted for under 50. I'm going to request quotes. When it becomes obvious you can't do that, then he has to start the process. He has to go out. It has to be listed on combis, listed in the paper, and the costs go up. So with the guy that says I can do it for 33, but he can't take up a quote. He was a fabulous painter. He did a wonderful job on the Greenwich. And this building, the only real challenge of this building greater than the Greenwich is the steeple. So I told him that rent a lift. The guy doing an oath and risking rented a lift. Add the cost, he quote, whatever it is. I said, I can't come over there and do it for you. That would be unethical. You want the work and you're capable of it, you gotta find something to get that phone quote and submit it to the town.
Hmm.
Stating what your costs are and that it includes the capture and removal of lead paint chips
Hmm.
and the proper disposal and that you're licensed,
Yeah.
which he says he is.
Hmm.
So that's where that stands. So I don't know what the outcome will be at this point.
That's probably something you could do on ChatGPT. Just type in, this is my price, and this is that, take me out a formal quote.
But the guy's a painter, not a computer guy.
Right,
There's nothing to it.
right. Yeah, something to it, but if you're not a computer person,
Yeah.
he's not gonna figure that out, no. He needs a good friend.
Yeah,
So that's the 2-minute summary.
okay,
Sorry.
that's great. I'm glad we're making progress on it. That's cool.
We're beautifying the town,
We are beautifying the
a
town.
little step at a time.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the patriotic banner request. I had reached out to Tom to ask for quotes for the 7 buildings. Tom responded to me, and he said, I have arrangements for the town hall and Christine buildings. I have contacted the police and fire to ask what they might want. Also, Chief Marshallian, who will have to hang many of the banners, has indicated he would like to look into the method and cost to attach those higher up. I have not looked into an arrangement for the community center. I will do that shortly. So I just told them, that's wonderful. Just keep me posted on it. And I also asked them to send me a quote for the bunting. So I'll keep you guys posted on that.
Okay,
The next item on the agenda is the stone wall, and I think on 140, and I think we're all set for that. I think he responded back and said, yep, we'll keep the the stone wall, we'll have to disassemble it, but we'll keep the nature of the stone wall intact, so I think that's good, so I think we'll take this off the agenda for,
I think you missed the fact that I had emailed him that during the meeting.
oh, you had looked that up,
So I had emailed the guy.
Oh, okay.
That same thing, and then you emailed him 2 days later, so.
oh, yeah, because I thought you said you were gonna do that, but then I don't think I saw that, I think I searched for it, I didn't see it, so but in any case, you got back to us, right, so that's all right. Okay, so we'll take this one off the agenda for the next meeting. So the next two items on the agenda are kind of the same, so we might want to bundle them together for the sake of time. But, I had a discussion with Ed concerning the First Cemetery in the Westboro, or I guess Bradish Cemetery on Westboro Road. And we were talking about the ownership of the cemetery, gravestone replication, and road maintenance. So I don't know if you want to take that one on. Ed, do you want to discuss?
Yeah, I wanted to read the warrant article, and I won't get into emailing it fast enough, and I forgot to bring it, I printed it out. So I had a discussion with Dennis Westgate at the DPW. Joan and I did last week, and Bill Taylor was listening to our conversation. He found a warrant article from 1981 where and I don't know this for certain, but I think it was the Historical Commission asked that the road, the gravel pathway into First Cemetery be discontinued. So the warrant article was to discontinue the road, so it's no longer a town road, and to turn the pathway and the cemetery maintenance over to the Historical Commission, and it was a passed article. So what we didn't know is this. Historical Commission has the ongoing maintenance rights of not only the cemetery, but the roadway that leads from Grove Street into the cemetery, which apparently everyone, including Dennis, had no idea about. Because Dennis is the one who told me months and months and months ago, or a couple of years ago, that's a private road, I can't do anything with it. But we now know it's not a private road, it's not a public road, maybe it is a private road, but it's owned by the town. And the Historical Commission has the responsibility for the road and the cemetery. So Joan and I, from there,
Really down to snow shovels.
Joan and I from there went to see Tom Delfonte at Whitensville Monument Works. And we asked him whether he could obtain and at what cost replica slate stones to look something like the way the stones were carved back then. Without any of the fancy scroll work that's on those old stones. That would all be handwork, would probably be prohibitively expensive. I did find 2 companies' websites online. One's in Connecticut, I don't know where the other one's located, where they hand carve the old slate stones. And Tom said he was familiar with a couple of them, but they are very long lead time and very expensive, because I suspect there's one guy doing it and he only does 1 stone at a time for somebody. So they're probably thousands and thousands of dollars if you want to replace one of your ancestors' stones. So anyways, Tom called me yesterday morning and told me that he has confirmed he can obtain the slate or a dull gray granite that will look like the slate. And I think it's because he strongly said to us he would prefer granite. I'm not sure he's got any experience with the slate. But he does not have cost yet, so he's working on getting costs. But the good news is he can get either one that'll look like the old stones. And Joe and I and Russ went over to First Cemetery Monday morning to scope out how to proceed with this project. I had a vision of trying to create a map of the cemetery to place all of the stones where they're actually located, and then identify the broken ones, and eventually try and get as best we can the exact script that is on each of the broken stones. So if we replace them, we put the same script on a replacement stone. Turned out it was a little more challenging than we thought it might be because of the density of stones in that top section.
And some of them were broken and basically underneath soil.
Yeah,
We had
yeah.
to scrape
Scrape
away
it off.
the get the lighting off and.
So I have a list of 12 stones that I identified, I think, 2 years ago, that are broken and cannot be repaired. And we found 3 broken stones as we started the project that weren't on the list. So there's a fair number, unfortunately, of badly damaged stones in that cemetery. So I drove down to Garrier and Hellman, a surveying firm, which the town has used a lot. They've been in the area for many, many, many years. They're down on 140 on the Milford Oakdale line. And I had a discussion with the gentleman in there that I used to do, he surveyed Maplewood Cemetery. When Maplewood was being turned over to the town. He has sent me a quote and a proposal says he can go into the cemetery and put his GPS survey stick on each side of a headstone and record its exact position, place it on the map of the cemetery, and give me a position of the footstone, because there's a whole lot of those over there that also have footstones. Put it on the map, use I think he said the state coordinates system, give us an electronic copy of this back, which we could then click on each headstone and bring up the name of the person buried and the information about that person in an electronic format for $4,000.
Yeah.
Which I thought was incredibly cheap for what I would have anticipated it might cost.
And I had a discussion about maybe trying to map it ourselves, and we talked, trying to put a grid
Great
in,
system.
in the cemetery, and the more I thought about it, I thought, that's an incredible amount of work.
Yeah.
And just to get the grid set up, and then to map the stones onto the
Yeah.
grid.
Yeah.
And then what kind of paper? You can't put it on 8.5 by 11, it would be big enough. So what kind of paper do you try and put it on, and then put a name next to it so we know where each person is buried?
Yeah.
We do have the map that I think Daniel Fay did back in the mid-60s. We found the original copy of that at the Historic Society this morning. Joan found it. And some other information. And we are fairly certain that there are gravestone rubbings of some of those stones. So Joan's going to dig those out in the next week. Because we may find some of the stones that were vandalized after those were done, so that we have the original images.
There's four rubbings up in the attic
Oh, really?
for the Historical Society. I use them a couple of times when the students from Memorial School came down.
Oh, really?
I use it for a prop, so they get their attention.
Do you remember Scott Garland doing work on those stones? Do you remember Scott?
Yeah, he was heavily involved in the
Yeah,
Historical Society.
I seem to remember him mapping out like
Yeah.
all the stones in all the cemeteries or something.
He's a good source.
Yeah.
So the Old First Cemetery is under the jurisdiction of this commission. Bradish Cemetery, Pine Grove Cemetery, which is Old Second Cemetery across from Lakeview, are not under the auspices of this commission. That's not to say we couldn't apply our jurisdiction to them to do some restoration work, but my thoughts about Bradish Cemetery, which is the one on North Street, Old North Cemetery, it's also on Westboro and North Street, the corner of Westboro and North, the intersection of them, is that we focus on Old First Cemetery, which is going to take a lot of money and a couple of years if we can sufficiently restore it back to its in earlier condition, let's say, never restored to what it was. But that Bradish Cemetery, there aren't many stones in there damaged.
Oh,
There's many that are old and in tough shape because of age, but Old First has been vandalized a couple of times, I think, in the stones. So if we can put 3-inch thick granite or slate in there that carved with the people's names, I think it'd be a great respect. My vision extends to, if we can create an electronic map of this that gives us actual dimensions and placement of stones, is then to create on paper a pathway. And that maybe we could contact the Boy Scouts, the schools for honor society students that need volunteer hours, and get someone behind creating a walkway path through Old First Cemetery with gravel or chips or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, cause a couple,
Eagle Scout thing, you know.
yeah, cause a couple of months ago, didn't we get an email from the Boy Scouts asking for like a scout project or something? Needed
No.
for their Eagle
I
Scouts?
sat on in the Eagle Scout review.
Oh, really?
Well, we could always contact them and say, we have a project. You have anybody
Right.
interested?
Yeah, I'll do
And if it's a project that involves construction, those are the ones that they seem to enjoy or want.
Well, this would be a hands-on. I
Yeah,
think it's
right,
something.
Yeah, and the Eagle Scout board likes it too, because the scout has to have a committee and he has to, get all the permits, he has to get this, that, the other thing, and it's, shows more of his abilities or hers.
So if anybody or everybody thinks this is a worthwhile project,
I wanted to ask,
should we make a motion to authorize Gary Aaron Howland to do the survey?
well, I wanted to ask, Russ, do you think CPC funds could be used for something like that? CPC funds?
I think so, yeah, it's restoration. Historical restoration.
And well, it wouldn't, we probably couldn't use it for the mapping. But for the restoration of the stones,
Might be able to.
But you have the money in hand to do the math. We don't need
Yeah.
CPC for.
right.
And Joe wanted to see us use some of it
Some
so
of it,
that
yeah.
people wouldn't think we went next to this money. we got
Exactly.
money for it.
Yeah, well, I think we should use it definitely for the mapping, maybe for the stones, we could get CPC.
Hopefully by next month, we know what the cost of a stone might be. And, I could sit here and say, if I think right now there's at least 15 stones that should be replaced, and they're $2,000 each, that's 30,000. If they're $3,500 each, I mean, you're talking $55,000, and then it's something I would propose we do over a number of years. We don't try and do it as one big project. So I don't know right now. I don't know whether you're telling the stone's 1,500 or 2,500 or 3,500. I don't think.
That was with CPC.
And then we go to the CPC and say, maybe we ask them for some money to do the rest.
Close to $100,000.
But it's where all of our Revolutionary War ancestors are buried, and it's unfortunately been ignored. It appears to me, because I recall when I was with the Cemetery Commission and we hired the landscaper to clear that cemetery, which was overgrown. And I think Ken Wood gave me an article from 1982, where they put an article in the paper showing how the cemetery had been cleared by volunteers of all the brush and overgrowth and everything else, and that they hoped it would be maintained into the future. And then I go in there in 2020 and it's a disaster.
It was really.
So it had been forgotten. Well, the good news now is it's on the DPD's rotating agenda, where they have to go in there at least twice a year. And it looks beautiful. I mean, we killed all the poison ivy, and the brush has disappeared, and if they go in there just in the spring and in the fall, it's all that's needed to keep that thing respectable, I should say.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we hire the engineering firm, forgot the name.
G&H.
G&H, to map out the First Cemetery.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Catherine.
Okay, all those in favor of Joan's motion? Aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? Okay, the motion carries unanimously.
So what, maybe just an afterthought, Catherine and Patrick and everyone else here, that I don't know if we'll find any more warm days, but it was also obvious to Joan and I that we go back in there. I've got some D2 at my house, which is the recommended cleanup for gravestones. We go back in there and try and clean the lichen and moss off of some of those stones. Unreadable because they're overgrown with organic matter.
Yeah.
I'd
And
like
if
to help with
anybody's interested, we can pick a couple of days, warm days, if some come up in the next month, and go over there and do a little bit of playing around.
Yeah, I could help out with that too.
I think after,
Was it fun?
Yeah.
after we get it mapped, maybe Joan and I can figure out who's on each stone and which stones are damaged beyond keeping what's there and needing replacement.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see.
I'd be happy to help with that.
Okay,
You put your feelers out, you know, how much, just to get an idea, how much it would cost to just have the plain stone made and also the stone that actually replicates any art that was on it, just so we know.
what I was thinking was, once Tom gets me a cost and tells me what that cost includes, that then maybe I could reach out to one of those companies online and say, this is what we're trying to do. What would it cost for a stone of this size with this printing on it?
Yeah.
And, you know, if Tom says it's 2,500 a stone and they said, you know, it's $12,000 for me to carve one stone for you.
Yeah.
And I know all the research I've done, I go back and I've seen stones in people's wills in 1700s for $5 or $10. And today, happy to spend thousands of dollars to get that same result.
Inflation.
It's just, yeah, it's just incredible.
Uh,
All right, I think that's a great set. So were you approached by anyone about Old North Cemetery, Bradish Cemetery? Did you say something about, somebody said something about, or your own question about adding that to the,
no, I know that it's in a similar, you know, it's a similar cemetery to the first cemetery, so I thought it would, maybe we can include that in the discussion.
We thought it was closed, but.
well, one thought I had, yeah, we thought it was closed, but
Yeah.
Mr.
there
Fowler
was within this past year,
Oh, really?
yeah.
went within a week ago. Yeah, cremation burials, which it's a closed cemetery. There's no lot records, there's no maps, there's no. But I think it was a family that's got some burial in there that asked for cremations to be added. Anyways, my thought, based on what we learned about the Warren article in 1981 about turning the Old First and the pathway over to the Historic Commission, is should we think about a warrant article for next May to turn Bradish Cemetery and Pine Grove Cemetery under our auspices, or should we leave them be?
Mm,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because I know Pine Grove Cemetery has a dozen stones that are broken and knocked over. Now, maybe some of those are repairable, but I tried to deal with it when I was on the cemetery commission, and it was difficult to get Whitingsville Monument to come in and do repairs. They did the repairs for us at Maplewood, but yeah, I think he has limited manpower. Go ahead, Kathy.
If they're not gonna be under like the cemetery, if the cemetery commission isn't gonna do anything about those other cemeteries, then we should have them under our control, because otherwise nobody's doing anything with them.
My words exactly.
I do know in the Bradish Cemetery, there's a plaque that says 1981, and I have to remember because that's the year I was born. Sticks in my head, but it says Historical Commission something 1981. So I wonder if that's related to that warrant. Or I wonder if that could have been.
Well, it sounded like whoever was on the commission in 1980, 81, 82 did a whole bunch with the cemeteries,
Yeah,
because that's what it looks like.
and I wonder if that was Scott Garland because I remember him doing a lot. I'm not sure.
You could bring up the town reports for those years and see who was on the commission.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we can think about writing a warrant article for next May town meeting to ask that. And I don't know if that roadway in front of Bradish is a discontinued roadway or ignored or what it is. But I had managed to get the DPW to go in there, not last year, but the year before, and they cleared all of the overgrown brush. They took down about a dozen dead trees surrounding Bradish that could have fallen on the stones. So they did that when I was on the cemetery commission. Without complaining too much about the extra work. So,
I was driving by it the other day and I noticed that there was several big trees in the entrance of that sort of driveway that comes in. So I don't know if someone put them there to keep people out. That to me, that's what it looked like. I don't think they felt like that. They were kind of on top of each other.
Right.
Spot.
So determine-
there was a huge dead, I don't know what, it was an oak or what it was, in the cemetery.
Oh, really?
And
Oh, I
the
think.
DPW took that down for me as well as the whole back of it outside the wall. So on neighboring land was a whole row of dead trees that were completely dead and just sticks. They took all those out from me,
I remember seeing that, yeah,
which I thought was great.
yeah, great, yeah, that's wonderful, yeah, because if one of those trees falls on a stone, it's bound.
But I don't think there's any broken stones in that cemetery.
Okay,
I'm gonna have to go back and look, but I have a report somewhere because we did a, what I called an annual inspection of cemeteries in 2021. When I joined the commission, we drove to each of the cemeteries. I typed up a report of what we saw at each one. There's dead trees hanging that need to be removed, or this needs to be done. But First Cemetery is the one that, the stones are smashed, and there are revolutionary, what they're our founding families.
yeah,
And the cemetery's a mess, so it's less of a mess now. It looks much better, but we've got
Yeah.
broken and missing stones that would be nice to replace.
definitely. It's one of our treasures, our treasures.
I think it was Barbara, not Barbara, what's her name? Bloomquist.
Carol.
Carol, is probably on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right after.
And she did the rubbings of the stones. I'm pretty sure.
One thing I was wondering with this, GPS mapping, I wonder if it's did he mention if it's like if he creates an actual website so that we can maybe make a link off of the historical commission web page to just pull it up so people can quickly.
Again, it was at the limit of my understanding as well, but that was my sense, the way it could be headed. It
Oh,
could
really?
be headed that we could put it on the town website or Historic Society's website, where it's an interactive map. We can click on a stone and up comes, this is Hannah Johnson, wife of, John Johnson, and died in 1810, and et cetera, et cetera.
That would be kind of like a community service that we're providing.
Right.
But what I'm,
People that do genealogy, it could be any, thing.
and what didn't occur to me at the time, but when I went home, I brought up Old First Cemetery and Find a Grave. And
Oh, yeah, fine.
in Country Mouse, I met her once, I can't remember what her real name is, she lives in town here, she photographed all those stones, and well, I didn't look at every one she photographed, I looked at half a dozen she photographed, and you could read clearly the wording, which you can't even in the cemetery. So she did a wonderful job photographing them, and she put some genealogical information on each one, so there's a lot of stuff that could be printed off that website, verified, and trusted everything she got was right, maybe she did. And we can have a color photograph of each stone as well, if we can link that all. Come on and have a seat.
Is this conservation?
No, this is the historical commission.
Oh, okay.
If they are meeting tonight, they would be down on the bottom floor.
Appreciate it, thank you.
When you guys were at the graveyard, I just have a really quick question. Did any of you like probe for gravestones? A lot of times when they've fallen over, if it was during like the period of neglect, they'll just get grown over, and some of them are still there. They're just like an inch or two underneath the surface of the dirt, and you can have a
Virtually all of them, Catherine, virtually all of them are there and apparent and in numerous pieces above ground. It just about
Okay.
everyone that's broken, you could find pieces of it. And I think Russ found one that was under a little bit of debris, but they're all visible. They're all there.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
What's
I only
left
asked
of them.
because I know that happens at Lakeview sometimes. I sent a picture a while ago, this was like a couple years ago now, where like a tombstone had broken and it was just lying in the dirt, and then it was like getting grown over. It wasn't even like on the grave anymore. It had gotten plowed. It had gotten plowed, and they just left it there, and then it got grown over, and I wasn't sure what degree that was true of this, because I know that there's burials like essentially from that period that are not necessarily recorded in stones that are still standing, and I wasn't sure to what degree there might be things under the ground and that we should check that. So
Yeah, no, it's a good point. One of the things that Jeff pointed out at Gary Art Hellman, that you could do if you're capable enough, if you know how to use AutoCAD, you could take the digital map he's going to create. Because one of the things I said I would like to do is try and draw in lots see where each family set is buried and create a lot around it, which would help towards the creation of where to put a pathway through the cemetery, a walking pathway.
Right.
But also identify lots, and by identifying the lots and the dates of death, to be able to determine if the estimated position of the first meeting house is reasonably accurate, or if there's a burial in 1760 where the meeting house is, then it's not accurate. The meeting house was moved in the 1770s downtown. So a few little nice things like that to better interpret
Did they
what we
leave any
know about that
foundation?
cemetery.
Sorry,
No,
sorry.
there's
I
no-
never said that.
There's no foundations evident in that cemetery.
Okay, yeah, I'd never heard of
Unfortunately.
them leaving one either, but I didn't know if there was anything left behind when they moved that building, or if they just like took the whole thing. I don't really know how you
It
could
was-
move such a thing.
And I'm sure it was a wood structure house, and it was probably set on stones, and the stones were moved out of the way once they moved the building and made it a cemetery. So I don't. But some little things like that could be gleaned from a digital map rather than the hand drawn one that Daniel Fay did back in the 60s that doesn't even show the placement of all the stones.
What about QR codes? You could put a QR code on the gravestones? With the information in there?
Is this coming from our eldest member?
Yes, yes. The one that doesn't even read his emails half the time.
QR codes are everywhere.
I don't know how you put one on a stone.
No, I know. I know they do the new ones, they do.
We had to have a
Yeah, it was company, I went to a cemetery association meeting, and there was a company that would put a QR code on a stone, and you could get the picture of the person that's interred there.
We had had a discussion about using QR codes. So I think Catherine was on the commission back then. And we were talking about updating the walking tour in town and putting QR codes like on the town hall, on the old Rustine building, some of the important houses along Main Street. And then, people could walk along and, click it on and hear the story of that building or home.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like posted on the QR code. The QR code's like gonna bring up a link or whatever. So you would still have to host it like on the website or whatever. The actual information, the actual files. They're not like stored on the.
We'll put Russ on that committee.
Yeah, there we go, Russ. You're in charge of that.
Oh, thank you. Be interested.
Well, I think first we need to get it mapped.
Yeah, that was fine.
Step one. Okay.
That's the beginning.
All right, I will talk to Gary and Helen tomorrow. Make sure it's clear what I think I want and what they're willing to provide, that they have the same thing. And if so, release the contract to them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need Joe Layton to do that, but I don't think so. He can yell at me like he.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I think it would be a good test such that if it works like it sounds gonna work, then maybe we can discuss down the road in the future doing Bradish and.
Yeah.
Bradish would probably, I would anticipate cost about the same, because I think Bradish probably has fewer stones than Old First. Pine Grove Cemetery, it might cost a lot more, because there's hundreds and hundreds of stones in that cemetery. That's very dense packed. That's the first cemetery, at least in my view, that they're all lined up in rows and rows, where Bradish is not. And Old First was, put my family over here, put my family over here type of thing.
There aren't any rocks there, we'll be there.
We found it fascinating that all the stones are almost north-south, where I would have expected east-west, but I don't know the significance of that.
More research to be done.
More research. Catherine's gonna do that first.
Right, well, it'll be great. It'll be interesting to see what we can come up with that. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is a tip light post discussion, and I know there was a warrant article at yesterday's town meeting, which I believe passed. I missed that part of the meeting, but did anybody catch what was?
We sent a request after our meeting 2 months ago, if I recall. I think you typed the email to Joe Layton
Yeah,
saying the historical commission voted that we wanted the town to proceed with hiring a design consultant
yeah,
to create a historic and or architectural landscape proposal for the tip project in front of the town hall here,
I think that's what we wrote.
including historic lighting and maybe some plantings and stuff, though it doesn't look like a barren landscape here. It's all done, and he put the warrant out for $23,000 for consultant fees, and it passed.
wonderful. That's good.
That's the one I got up and spoke.
I think I
Well,
missed that.
just to make sure people knew what it was and where it was coming from, that this commission was the one who requested it. And that we want to make sure that downtown looks like a historic downtown as much as we can, rather than a barren landscape of concrete and asphalt.
Yeah,
Nobody got up and complained, and it passed, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
great. Well, that's wonderful. Okay, so I'll take this off of the agenda. I'm glad that passed. Fantastic. Odson and Flinker report, the EDC passed, a motion to increase the funding for the Donaldson and Flinker report from $55,000 to $76,000. So, they're gonna have one fancy report.
I guess. Was this voted on last night?
No, like a week or two ago.
Oh.
Yeah,
How could they do that without going to town meeting?
because I guess they're getting funds from earmarks or something. I don't know what the earmarks are, but
So funding was increased from,
55,000 to 76,000.
Hmm.
So Dodson and Flinker is the organization that gave us the downtown revitalization report from a couple of years ago. So I don't know how much that's just gonna be recycled. Seems like an awful lot of money to me to get the reports.
First, vendors we spent the CPC fund on.
Oh, we did, okay.
Dawson, we identified the historic areas.
Okay, so maybe it's CPC money that they're getting for this new report, I'm not sure. They got it from somewhere. It's not, they're not going to the town to request it, so they have it bundled somewhere, so. It seems like a lot of money for.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so that is, so we did that one, we already talked about Sarah Chronicle. So the next item on the agenda is the social media updates and review, and I think Patrick might have had an update for us.
Quick
Thank you,
updates.
Patrick.
Hello. So I have just a couple quick updates. Big shout out to Catherine on her posts last week. So big kudos to Catherine. Those two posts were amazing. So thank you so much for posting that about the Grange. Yes, hi. Yes, hello, hi. So two quick things. So there is a way for us. So any of our buildings that are on the historical registry, we can actually create black and white coloring pages of those images. There's an app where you can take basically pictures and make them into kind of coloring pages. So that is a way for us to, one, get something to the youth, and the other, when it comes to, again, educating those about just kind of some of the more historical houses and buildings in our town.
That might be good for the next Heritage Day too, to have some printouts for people who draw the buildings.
Yeah, that was
So
what I
that
was
would
thinking.
either,
That would be awesome. We could have like an actual table.
And
Yeah.
the second piece. So I have a friend who works for she is a national park ranger for the park services. And
Oh.
one of the things that, because I was kind of talking to her, like kind of spitballing about, because I know we've been talking about the historic district and like what that would look like and how we go about doing that. And one of the things she kind of said that some small towns do across the United States is they kind of start kind of grassroots with basically that younger demographic, with students, with kids, with teens. And she said, you guys should think about putting together like an activity book that celebrates your local history. And she's like, if that's something your town's interested in doing, I can put you in touch with some of the folks that create things like for like the Minutemen National Park, for the Freedom Trail folks. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. But of course, she goes, the big legwork is just, I'm not sure if you guys are close with your historical society, but you'd have to kind of curate and pull the key things of your town's history. And I'm like, well, it happens. We know a couple people on historical society, so I think so like we have pieces kind of lined up, which is great.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I'd love to see younger people getting more involved with the local history. Because we're gonna need members in 20 years.
Right.
From the show.
Scott Craig when he was in first grade.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that'd be fantastic. Yeah, so maybe you could, if you have any ideas about how we bring that to fruition, Patrick, as you're friends with this resource, that would be wonderful.
Is it cool, folks, if I proceed and just kind of chat more and just get kind of like timetable? What exactly, is there a template? Is there anything? I know from our end, curating things isn't an issue. I would just say just what does this take? I mean, if it's cool, I'd love just to pursue this further on behalf of the commission.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a good idea to get specifics.
Ruby.
As long as you don't commit to spending any money, I vote that Patrick, lead the charge. Absolutely. Get us more information, learn more, and give us some ideas what we can do to make something happen.
That'd be great.
Do we want a formal vote on this, or is it just,
I'm not voting on doing it and
okay.
letting him pursue investigation and collecting
Yeah, I think we
data.
have to vote as long as we don't spend money, basically.
Yeah. If Catherine spends money, we have to vote on it. Not Patrick.
Maybe if you can come back next month with a few ideas, that would be great.
That is that would be great. I can do that.
Okay, so a 12-page report by next month.
Oh, I'm just happy it's not 24, so I'll take 12.
Good job.
All right, wonderful. So let's see. Did also, so we're on to the topics not reasonably anticipated in advance. The one thing I wanted to mention is the chairman's report, which I think I'm gonna have to put together relatively soon and just kind of, what's that?
For the town report.
For the town report, yeah, the annual town report, so I'll have to look into that.
There'll typically be an email from Sandy's replacement. I don't know who Joe's new secretary is.
Oh,
That will ask all town boards to submit their reports for the annual town report.
so there's like an email that goes out?
Yes. Yes, but it's typically in the end of December timeframe.
Okay.
But starting it early is a good
Yeah.
idea.
I have it all written and bring it for the next meeting and we can.
Look at some of the old town reports and see what the commission, listed as things that we did.
Okay.
Whatever, just give you a guideline, and then just pull up minutes from meetings and see what we did.
Yeah, I think we actually got quite a bit accomplished this year, so.
I think so.
I'd actually volunteered to Joe last year, and hopefully he doesn't remember to create the annual report for the township
Ooh.
as part of the tax work. A friend of mine that I work with at the library does Hopedale's, and she did theirs for the first time this last year. Took her 99 hours, I think, to create the report.
Right.
Well, that sounds like a brutal undertaking.
So we'll see. I mean, it's just every town writes a report. They just accumulate all in that book we get every year.
Yeah.
Every town, it's all.
Yeah.
So you open up last year's book And you look at the kind of the format and write a report just by going, like I said, go through each of the 12 monthly minutes
Yeah,
and take the highlights of each one and form it into a comprehensive, or ask Chat GPT to do it for you.
yeah, just type, throw it into ChatGPT. Yeah.
So the question, it's at least a month and a half ago, there was an email to the commission from a person up on Mechanic Street, old house. She wanted to know if there was a historical,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, did anybody respond? I didn't.
Was that during Heritage Day?
It was an email to us,
Was it email?
yeah. I make sure it ended up. And maybe I could forward it to you.
Yeah, you still have that.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess she owns an old house up on Mechanic Street. They want to do some work on the house. Sounded more like interior work.
Oh.
And she wanted to know if there was a historic restriction on the house, which it wouldn't be, since it's not in any
We don't have this.
district. Yeah, right, yeah. I mean, we could, respectfully say, if you're in, an old historic home, we would hope that you would, but we don't have a restriction.
No.
Wasn't that a while ago?
Yeah.
Was
yeah,
it
it's like a month and a half
I
ago.
remember seeing one about somebody talking about whether they could replace their windows or something.
Yeah, I think that was part of the
I
question.
think that was the email.
I didn't respond to that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I just said, we don't have any restrictions.
yeah, okay.
That's the one I'm thinking of. So that's that. We had one more, request from Mike Panko from the CPC. And he was asking if he can close out 2 accounts, one for purchase of the $4,000 post for $6,000. Maybe that's bench. No, we had a separate fund for that. I don't know what he's talking about, actually. That didn't ring a bell.
I
He said it's about.
He's been the chair of the CPC and he's cleaning up accounts, and my opinion was, and I didn't respond, that all of those old accounts should be closed.
Oh, okay.
Because the 2 times I've been to them, their statement is, if they approve the funds for use, you have 2 years to use them.
Yeah,
Oh,
So some of those were 7 or 8 years ago.
okay.
They should automatically just close them off, but he's doing the courtesy of asking. You could say from the historical commission's perspective, those accounts should all be closed.
Okay.
And if somebody else wants to respond, otherwise, well,
Okay. I'll respond to him.
right, Russ? Because they grant the money, but they tell you you've got 2 years to use it, right?
most of them, yeah,
Yeah.
they all have sundown clause.
As a side note, I attended
They never said it automatically closed. They had to do it at the meeting, they had to close them in the
So
meeting.
you closed it formally at the meeting.
And then it took a while to communicate to the town treasurer, the town accountant to do it.
Oh.
Hmm.
I attended a great lecture about CPC and CPA last week. By Stuart Sangor, I guess he.
Did you talk to Mr. Sagan?
Yeah, he gave a lecture.
Yeah,
In Grafton.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. It's probably an hour and a half. I think it's recorded, so if I can get the recording, I'll email it out to everybody. But he also just sent me slides from the meeting. And one particular thing was a chart, like how you can figure out what's within the 4 corners of the CPC
yeah.
and it's not, so it's pretty insightful.
I found the article, the 1981 article.
Oh, you did?
Just read it so everybody's heard it.
Yeah.
Article 18, 1981 town meeting voted unanimously that the town declare the South Upton Cemetery, also known as the First Cemetery, non-functional and a historical burying site, and to include as a part of the South Upton Historical Burying Site, the pathway, also known as Old Cemetery Road, the responsibility and upkeep of the South Upton Cemetery and the pathway, also known as the Old Cemetery Road, to be transferred to the Historical Commission. At the same meeting, the town voted to discontinue all ways not shown on the list available for inspection. That has nothing to do with us. So that was the sentence. They discontinued Old Cemetery Road and declared the cemetery non-functional, in other words, closed to burials, and turned it over, the maintenance of it and upkeep, to the Historical Commission. So it raises the question that I haven't even considered at this point is, can we do something with that pathway, which is in tough shape to drive up to that cemetery? And I think I'll have some discussions with Dennis whether he can do something now. So we don't have to get involved, like, you know, bring a couple loads of gravel and stone and spread it. Something simple.
I mean, it gets very confused. Other than on.
Well, it gets heavy use with the friendly fire paintball field, which is the biggest concern, and I'm wondering if that's part of the reason that stone's got.
Well, then again, if you make it too easy accessible, there might be more damage.
Yeah,
More
that's
people
what I was
visiting, There could be more damage.
Yeah,
Right,
I don't really want people to
I like the gravel.
go up there to look at it, fine.
Yeah.
But I think a little bit needs to be done. I don't even want to drive my car up in there because there's rocks and stuff sticking up, and
okay.
you do a lot of damage.
That one stone is.
I don't have a big stone like some.
Yeah, right.
All right.
But there again, you don't want to make it too easily accessible.
I agree, and there was rumor that the lady who owns the land the paintball field is on has been considering selling it for development.
Ooh,
And I think it's 20 something acres, but it could be more than that. I don't know how big that piece of land, I have to look at the map again.
We'll have to put up a big wall.
But it's usually what's going on throughout town right now is anyone with a piece of land is looking
Right.
for some developer to come buy it and put in 50 or 100 apartments, so.
Yeah, so that's,
Upton's gonna change over the next 10 years, big time,
yeah.
unfortunately.
So that lends more credence to having a gravel road. Okay, so, the last thing that we wanted to do is have the officer elections, so I should have done this in the summer, but elected to do that. I didn't realize that's what we're supposed to do. So, there are 4 positions, there's chairman, co-chairman, secretary, and treasurer. So I thought that the way we would do this is we'd go through each of the 4 positions. The person who currently occupies that position can say whether they are interested in continuing for the next year and throw their hat into the ring. Or if they don't want to continue with the position, they can say they don't want to. And then we can offer up to the commission if anybody else wants to apply for the position. So if that's the case, then we can have a vote for who gets the position.
what are the 4 positions?
The 4 positions are chairman, co-chairman, secretary, and treasurer.
Oh, and CPC.
No, this is for the historical commission.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to have a
Represent-
historical commission. CPC.
Yeah.
I've been doing this since
For 100
creation,
years.
since it's been created.
Oh, wait, wasn't there, I thought there was a warrant article saying something about
There
that
was.
too.
Well, they want to include the affordable housing, when somebody from affordable housing.
Oh.
There was 4,
It was taking one position away from the selectmen appointing it
yeah,
and giving it to the affordable housing to
Yeah.
appoint someone to that was the only change. It
They-
wasn't clear that it was written.
they have a lot of money for affordable housing. They don't even meet affordable housing.
So CPC is already made up of a representative from the Historical Commission and several other commissions.
Oh,
I didn't know till
They
last.
have, they're automatically, one member from the
So they want to add somebody from this affordable,
planning board,
take it away from the select.
yeah.
Selectmen had 3 appointees, they reduced it to 2.
okay.
That's all that did.
Oh, okay, so then that's nothing that we have to do.
So you've got five positions you have to fill.
Okay, so the other one is the CPC.
CPC, I just been doing it. I worked on forming the CPC committee.
Yeah, well, you're on the CPC.
Yeah, they just, automatically put me on.
Oh, you automatically? Okay.
I never spoke up, but if anybody would like to do it, it's very interesting.
Okay, so,
It's handling money.
so I'll just go through the positions and then, the person who is in that position just says whether they want to continue, throw the hat in the ring, or if they want to stop, they just say they want to stop. And then if anyone wants to, also volunteer for that position, feel free to do that. And then we'll have a vote if there's more than one person. If there's three, I don't know how that will work. We'll figure that out if that happens. Yeah, so, so the first one is the chairman position. I'm currently in that chairman role. I'm happy to, do another year as chairman. If, and if anyone else wants to apply for that position, you can raise your hand, and we can, vote. So, does
So I make a
anyone,
motion that, Craig be, the candidate for the position of chair.
chair?
I will second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You did a very good job this year.
Thank you. So we'll move on to co-chairperson, not chairman, chairperson, as Catherine currently occupies that position. So Catherine, are you interested in being co-chairperson for the next year?
Sure, I'll stay unless somebody wants to fight me for it.
Yeah. Does anyone else, is anyone else interested in running for that position?
As I said the other night, I would throw my hat in that ring if anybody wanted me as co-chair.
You can do it if
Okay.
you want. I will, you've done lots of work this year. I think I'm happy to trade that to you if you would like it.
Well, I make a motion to nominate Ed and Catherine as the co-chairman and let the commission vote on it.
Second,
So how does that work?
I think it's,
So we have two people that are candidates for co-chair, so then we have to vote on which one.
Okay, so, we'll take a vote for, Catherine first.
Okay.
So, all those in favor of nominating Catherine for co-chair, raise their hand.
She wants to.
you can vote for yourself.
There is
Children
a two.
can't vote.
I'll vote for myself, I guess.
Okay, all those in favor of nominating Ed for the co-chairman, raise their hand. Okay, so I guess Ed will be co-chair.
Congrats, Ed.
The next, position, so, the next position is secretary. So Ed had previously been the secretary. So I guess that position is now open. So if anyone is interested in being the secretary, you can feel free to raise your hand or volunteer for that position. And if,
I have no problem continuing as secretary as well. I don't know if that's, I think that's a lot of it. Unless Catherine, you want to do the minutes of the meetings for the next year?
I mean, I don't, but I will if you want me to. Like, I'll do it for a year. How's that? I'm willing to swap jobs for a year. Your minutes were very good, though. I was impressed with how comprehensive they were.
Okay, so Catherine, you want to, you volunteer to do the secretary position for the next year? Is that what you?
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
I'll make a motion to have Catherine as candidate for the secretary position.
Okay, I'll second that motion. All those in favor of, having Catherine be secretary for the next year, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed?
Love that time delay with Patrick.
I think that was a favor, Patrick, right? Or your vote? I think that was,
It's a,
okay,
State day.
so Catherine is elected unanimous.
okay, Catherine's elected unanimously for secretary. Thank you very much, Catherine.
You're welcome.
So the next position is treasurer, and Joan currently, holds the role as treasurer. So, I don't know, Joan, if you are interested in doing that for another year. I know it's
I will do it for another year.
You're sure?
Well, it wasn't that
You wanna-
hard.
you wanna- You want to be treasurer?
No,
Okay. I nominate Joan Burrow to be treasurer for the next 12 months.
Okay,
Second that.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those
Wait,
opposed?
wait.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, that motion carries unanimously.
And technically, it's not the next 12 months for any of us. Because as we said, we should be doing this every July after the selectmen reappoint members of the various boards. There should be an election of officers. I think technically that's what I was. I think that's the way it's all. So you're looking at, what's that, 8 months?
Yeah, that's right. That's the way it's supposed to be done.
Not that you won't get it again.
Okay. So so we'll have to remember next year to do it in July. I guess at the same time that the Historical Society does it, so that'll be a tip off, because they usually do it at okay, so the next, position is the, CPC, position, which Russ Wood currently occupies. Russ, are you interested in doing that for another year?
it's a 3 year, I think it's 3 years.
3 years, so we don't have to.
My term is up in June. 1st of July.
Oh, okay, so it's fine, you don't have to do this.
I have a paper on that says I've been sworn in.
Oh, okay,
Committee.
so we don't have to do the nomination then.
Oh, my term is up in 1st of July.
Oh, so maybe we do?
Huh?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
So
so
we
we have
we
to
can
do
do
it
it
at that
next
time.
June's meeting.
Yeah.
We do all the other ones.
After the annual,
Yeah.
that's when you.
Because you have
After the annual. And at the annual town meeting.
Okay, yeah, so we'll wait for them.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good, so that,
Russ did express to me that he would rather not continue because he can't hear what's going on in the meetings, so.
I'd like to give somebody else a chance to sit in on that. It's very interesting.
oh, okay. So
Anybody like?
You're gonna do
So
it.
we have deferred,
you'll do it till then.
deferred selection until next June.
Okay, sounds good.
So is that a monthly meeting that
First
they have?
Wednesday every month. It's virtual.
Okay, so, I think that wraps up the meeting for tonight. The next meeting will be December 11th. That shouldn't impact any holidays, I don't think, so that should be good. December, or new people, is that a good day for everyone?
December.
December 11th, yeah.
To have December meeting? Or-
We don't actually have to, I guess if people might have holiday plans and things, this is Christmas.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
obviously busier than Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So
It's not
maybe-
a problem
maybe we
for
skip
me, but whatever, if you want to skip it. we
In
can
order
skip
for
it.
December, I won't be
I
here.
I don't think we have anything on the agenda that requires action by any of us in December. So there's no homeowners waiting on our opinions or anything like that. So why don't we defer our next meeting to January?
Okay, yeah, no, is that good for everybody?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
You want to pick a date in January?
Yes, let's see, January, so December 11th would have been second Wednesday, so we go for the second Wednesday in January. That will be January 8th.
Oh, I'll be here.
You'll be here?
I'll still be.
Oh,
here.
yeah, so you're going down south.
That'll be gone.
Oh, okay. Okay, so,
For the,
yeah, January 8th, would that work?
my anniversary.
Oh, okay, well, we can do it, we can do it on Thursday.
Well, we can bring pie and cake and
And
You're-
Jim.
Yeah.
Would it be better if we did it on the 9th? That would be Thursday instead of Wednesday.
I think you gotta be careful, you run into conflicts with
Other.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, run
so-
conflicts with other committees and.
Nice.
See.
Okay. Going for the.
Do we, oh, another question, do we have a full slate of members?
It's 7 members.
7, that's what the
That's the slate.
slate.
Be nice if we had a couple of, I don't know what you call alternates.
We did that for a number of years, we had 2 alternates, I think, Catherine, didn't you start out as an alternate?
I did. The first year I was an alternate
Yeah.
and then.
I was an
somebody
alternate.
went. Yeah, and you were an alternate for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, might be good to explore that and see if we could get some people that would like to, you know, join as an alternate. I mean, just for their input and their, you know, expertise and
I
whatever.
believe they can participate and do anything we can do, but they can't vote.
Can't vote, right.
Can't vote.
But how big's the voting? I mean, it's input, it's interest.
I think they can't vote if everyone's here, but if someone's missing, then they can. I think that might be the way it works. Is that-
I think-
Yeah, that's
They
right.
do.
That's right. They're like.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, so why don't we look for some alternates if anybody knows anybody who's interested?
You might ask, I don't know if you have to ask Joe if we put that on the town website.
So I was wondering, how are you gonna advertise for
Right.
that? Right, you
Well-
need to write something.
I know every year they send out that big, like, Word document with a table, and then they'll have like slots for alternates, so I think that it is on that table, so I think anyone.
So with our idea of going forth on this, historic district,
Yeah,
you know, that might be a lot of work. I mean, if we had 2 more people, that might pick up some of the slack on that.
yeah,
That would
yeah.
be great.
I think that would be great, yeah. And we need a realtor and an architect for that, I think, so if anyone knows any realtors or architects in
I
town,
want to be on board.
yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay, so, we'll go ahead and make a motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn.
I'll make a motion. If you want me.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
I-
That was my bad.
Aye.
Okay, great, well, thank you, everyone.